everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. Where did it go? There it is. Let's get that down. Hey, good morning. It is Wednesday morning. I hope you're doing great. And if anybody's watching the Netflix show Wednesday, kind of cool. Hey, this conversation powered by Mojito Nights Ketones. I hope you're doing well. If you want to improve your brain, improve your muscles, help with your fat loss, but really get rid of the brain fog and deal with the stress of the holidays, ketones are a good thing for your brain. So let's get started. That's a little hot over here, so let's take that off. There we go. Ooh, a little bit more now. Soft and warm. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Murphy. I'm your international speaker and trainer. I've stood on stage in 30 plus countries. What I'm going to work with you for the next 12 months is functional success. I'm going to use biology and psychology. I'm going to use neuroencoding, and I'm going to use neurobiology. I'm going to help you understand the way the brain works. I'm going to help you understand why your brain keeps you from doing what you want to do. I'm going to help you become dangerous. I'm going to help you become dangerous to your fears and to your doubts. I'm going to help you become dangerous to the wants and wishes. They will no longer be wants and wishes. They will be checked off boxes and goals, and a creation of success at a level you've not had before. How? By becoming conscious. Conscious of your decisions, conscious of your dreams, conscious of your faults, conscious of your ways, of your woes. This conversation today is about the 3 things I learned that I forgot to use for expansion. So if you're ready for that, drop a 1 in the chat. Say, Jim Rohn, if we were all live, Jim Rohn would say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Here we go. So first thing was journaling. I know we all do it. Listen, it's easy to do. It's also easy not to do. When you understand the power, the complete power behind journaling, let me explain to you why journaling might be of tremendous value. Let me use the biology, right? The physiology, just the simple idea of slowing down enough to write gives you ownership. It's one of the few things that you can do. How many of you have heard the Navy admiral who talks about at a commencement speech of making his bed? Drop a B in the chat if you've ever heard the commencement speech of the admiral, the Navy admiral, I think he's an admiral, who makes his bed. So if making your bed made it onto YouTube, millions of hits, if making your bed was enough for an admiral, a Navy admiral, if somebody who understands discipline, is because it's something you make in the morning, and when you come back, what was the biggest thing? You see that you've already made an accomplishment. You've already started off your day with an accomplishment. See, what happens in the journaling is not only in the mental, because making the bed, yes, there's the physiology of slowing down. There's the biology of moving your body. There's the neuroencoding of creating habitual actions. There's the neurophysiology of actually creating a new set of neural networks that your brain looks for 2 things. Will it kill me, or how fast could I recognize the pattern? And if you don't make the pattern, if you don't recognize the pattern of success, your day starts off wrong. So here's why journaling works. Let me back up 1 step, why journaling is so valuable. We can have thoughts and not die. Wait, what? See, you can think about climbing a mountain. You can think about running across the street. How many of you, when you were little, have you ever sat at a street, in a busy street? I don't know, maybe it's just me, I'm nuts. But you tried to look at traffic and said, well, if I ran now, I could go. If I went now, I could go. How many of you have ever sat behind a car and wanted to blow your horn because you're like, you could have went, you could have went, you could have went. So you had a thought and you didn't die. When you start to write your journals, we can think of 14,000 words a minute. Think it. We can think all of this stuff. Some of you are having conversations in between my words. When you start to slow down in the kinesiology of the physiology of the biology, you start to slow down. You give your brain space. You give your brain attention. You give your thought its rightful due. How many of you have ever said, I wish I could stop all my thoughts? It's because you don't journal. Every thought is fighting for space in your mind. Every thought is fighting for space in your expansion. And the challenge is it's so difficult to expand when you can't build on anything. So number one, Journaling is the thing that I forgot to use when I wanted to expand. If I'm sitting in a small place, if I'm sitting in a limited mindset, if I'm sitting in a space where I feel that nobody cares and nobody wants me, it's because I'm not journaling. Well, I don't have time to journal. Well, there's your first clue. If you don't have time to do the thing that will work, what do you have time for that's keeping you from reaching your goals? It's called distractions. So, number one, journaling. Number two, breathing. I don't want to say the M word. Why? Because some of you will say, well, I meditate for 5 minutes. No, sorry. If you want to meditate for 5 minutes, count your breaths. That will serve you much well. The lie that you are telling yourself that 5 minutes of meditation, unless you're a yogi and a guru and you understand mind bending techniques to allow to slow down your brain, the only reason that you meditate for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes is because you don't like your own company. Wait, what? Yeah. See, you want to meditate and you forget about breathing. You're still up here in your upper respiratory breathing. You're not diaphragmatically breathing. You're not relaxing the larynx to allow air to flow in, to boil through your lungs, to allow it to clear out old stories, old stuff, old feelings. We'll get into that in another thing. See, that's when you become conscious. I'm going to just say, if you're not meditating, if you don't have the time to meditate for 2 hours a day, you listen to every guru. I'm not saying to start right now and get to 2 hours. Your life would turn into a wreck, would turn into a snowball of catastrophes, because your ego, you're edging God out, won't let you do it. So start off with counting your breaths. Count your breaths to 500. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. See if you can count your breaths to 500 without losing count. That's what yoga is about, means to become one. Meditation is to become one. Meditation is to be able to sit with yourself. So breathing. So before you get to meditation, start with breathing. Breathing is the most important thing. We can go without water for a little while. We can go without food for longer. Some of us longer than others. We can go with, but we can't go without breathing for a couple of minutes. So just pay attention to your breathing. You want to get some intense awareness? Count your breaths. Literally count your breath. Well, I'm supposed to, my mind is quiet. Yeah, good luck with that. How's that working? So 3 things that I learned that kept me from expanding. 1, journaling. 2, breathing. 3, gratitude. Those 3 things, you learn and focus on those 3 things today. You'll say to me, you'll call me, you'll say things like, oh my God, Sean, you won't believe what happened. You won't believe what happened. Oh my God, you won't believe what happened. Do you want to know what happened? Can I tell you what happened? You won't believe what happened. You want to know what happened? Oh my God, you won't believe what happened. You do those 3 things from now to the end of the year, you will start off 2023 in a way you never thought possible. You could have the most successful next 10 days, would be 23 to 18 days of success like you've never thought possible. Consistently. Oh, and at the same time, see, there's something called the circadian rhythm. Drop a C in the chat. I used to think it was spelled with an S. There's something in the chat that's called circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is when you wake, when you sleep. So the other thing, now these are added values, is go to bed at the same time. Wake up at the same time. So if you go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, you'll help with your circadian system. You'll wind up losing weight significantly simply by going to bed at the same time and going and waking up at the same time without hitting the snooze button 87 times, without being on your phone. Get off your phone an hour before bed. Boy, that would, some of you would just pass out or jump out a window. I'm not sure which. But all of these things that are happening in your world are keeping you from your expansion. If you want 2023 to be your best year ever, you got to take yourself and put yourself on a pedestal and make it the best year ever for you. You start with you, everything else seems to fall in place. It's funny how that works. You start with you, everything else seems to happen around you. You start with you, and all of a sudden, the people who are nagging you and being a less than positive influence around you, they'll change. We keep pointing the finger out. We keep pointing the finger out, keep pointing the finger out, keep pointing the finger out. It's them. You got three fingers pointing back. It's you. It's you. Try. What do you say? You cubed. That is the word. You cubed. I think that's three. So here's the idea. If you take time for you, your brain will go, what are you doing? See, there's this phenomenon. So now those are the three things: journaling, breathing, meditation. And what was the third one? I don't even remember the third one now, my brain, because I was already on to the next gratitude. Oh, thank you. See how grateful I am for you. Now the question is did he plan that, or did he want to say it like that? So those are the three cores. Now I'm going to get into the window dressings. I'm going to get into the blinds, the things the little finer details. There was a year of my life where things kind of went crazy. Now, if you know my life and you hear me say that things kind of went crazy, you'll know that I've been in world storms of emotions and anxieties and everything else. And people ask me, how you doing? I go, I'm outstanding. I have this phrase: when you see me worry, then you panic. Most people, there's only about 3 or 4 people who have ever heard me use that phrase. You better worry. You better panic. So that being said, there was a year of my life I probably used that phrase almost every day. And I was reading something, I was listening to something, I was reading, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn, or it could have been Fearless Living by Rhonda Britton. One of those books gave me this mantra. And the mantra that allowed me to get through that year of my life, the mantra that allowed me to stand in front of you today, was simply, I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. I must have said it 400, 500, 600 times a day, 700 times a day. If I was not consciously engaged in the conversation, I said, I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. I am enough. Even quietly, I am enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. And here's what happens whenever you say a mantra, whenever you have a belief, whenever you have what do you call those things we write down and we stick them up on boards? What are those things called? The affirmations. And there's a difference between an affirmation and an affirmation. Affirmation and an affirmation. The affirmation I learned from The Secret Code of Success out of Noah St. John's, and I'll talk about that in a minute. If I forget, remind me. Noah St. John. I would say this affirmation until I didn't know what the words sounded like. Eventually you'll believe it, because here's the reality, ladies and gentlemen. What you're leaving 2022 with and what you're starting 2023 with are a lot of lies you've told yourself enough that have become almost truths. They're called beliefs. They're called your values. They're called your intentions. Well, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. Whenever you utter the words, Bob Proctor said, if you don't want to be sick, don't hang around sick people. If you want to be rich, do not hang around poor people. And this has very little to do with monetary equivalent of richness. Many of you hang around poor-minded people, poor mindset people. Well, they're called my family, Sean. What am I supposed to do? Well, the one that I hung around with when I was 14 years old and made a decision to never have another bad day was my mom. It wasn't like I was going out on my own. I didn't have those kinds of cojones to say, I'm leaving. I was a weak little boy, not health-wise, not mentally. I was weak. So here's how it is. It was no longer difficult being around my mom because she spoke a language that I decided to not understand. How many of you have never heard somebody and you're like, I don't know what you're meaning, and you knew exactly what the F they were meaning? See, when you finally stop taking the ownership, when you finally stop owning their words, when you finally stop taking on their interpretation, when you finally stop interpreting what it is they want, when you realize if you say this to you in your mind, they're only speaking the language they know. You're the one doing the interpretation. How many of you speak a multiple language? How many of you speak a sister tongue or a sister language that's a lot like your language, but it's not? It's like Mexican Spanish is kind of different than Puerto Rican Spanish. They use the same ways, different tones, different intonations. I guess, what do they call it? What do you call it when you have not tones, dialects? They're a different dialect, right? Mandarin, right? Mandarin, modern Mandarin versus a traditional Mandarin, and simplified Chinese versus, right? Or you got Portuguese doesn't even sound like Spanish. Well, it doesn't. It's Portuguese. But Spain Spanish versus Mexican Spanish versus Puerto Rican Spanish versus the Bronx Spanish, aka Spanglish. See, you're the one doing the interpretation. All of those are sounds. Do you realize all of those are sounds? And by the way, listen carefully. All language is emotion. Wait, what? All language is emotion. I'm not talking a cold weather language like Russian or German, right? Where they speak very, they don't want to be out in the cold very long. Everything is quick, to the point, get in, get out, say it, and off they go. Or Spanish or Italian, right? It's a little bit more of a warmer language and a little bit more love language. But none of those have sound in your brain. Your brain cannot hear sound. They are all emotions. Listen carefully. Every sound you hear triggers an emotion, triggers a chemical in your mind. You can't hear my words. They're bouncing off an eardrum that go into your brain that create a vibration. And this vibration usually means this, asshole. Wait, what? Did he just call me an asshole? See what happened? The fact that you understood the word Putzilumi Mostraco, why didn't you get upset when I said that? What's the first word you always learn? Drop in the chat. What's the first word you always learn in a foreign language? So, if the first words you always learn in a foreign language are not the ones you would say at dinner, why didn't anybody get upset when I spoke that in Russian? Because you didn't understand it. See, you don't understand the language you hear. It is a repeated pattern that you have realized that you can communicate, and you say noise back. You say noise back to them that goes into their ear, bounces off the inner eardrum, creates a vibration in the brain that says this means this, and that's, you are translating all of this language inside of your brain. So when you have these thoughts about somebody, when you have these thoughts about your dream, you're creating the same chemical. That's why you can get so mad. How many of you got mad about a fight you had a year ago with somebody? Oh, there's that son of a bitch. Oh my God. Do you know what they did to me? Let me tell you what they did to me. You've had that story running for a year. Otherwise you would have forgotten it. How many of you can remember your first kiss? Ladies, I understand sometimes it was as if a Saint Bernard was licking your face or trying to pick stuff out of your teeth. You're like, oh my God, it's too early to remember that, right? Some of you are laughing. But why can you remember that? Because you play that at a subconscious level in your mind. Otherwise, you'd forget it. But here's the thing. Everything in the universe, anything that's ever been said to you, anything you've ever said, anything you've ever written down, wrote, or said to you, or you heard about you, has been recorded in your brain permanently. That which you record, that which you repeat on a regular basis becomes permanent. You add emotion to it. You add emotion to this conversation. You add emotion to this dialogue. You add emotion to this one thing. And all of a sudden it becomes burned into that brain of yours. But it's not really burned into the brain. It's created a neural set of networks that's so big that it's hard to neural prune it. See, I'm also going to use with you neurobiology and neuroencoding. Functional success doesn't mean learning a script. It is a functional model of success that you need to adapt, adopt, and begin to use that will allow you to expand your vision and expand your dreams to the highest level. What if all of the things that you dreamed about for the last 10, 15, 20 years came true in 2023? What would change in your life? Besides everything, everything would change. Here's the reason why it may not happen. Here's the reason why it's possible that it could be delayed, is that you haven't become in harmony with everything. See, harmony is an emotional state as well. Words are emotional state as well. Thoughts are an emotional state as well. Your dreams are an emotional state. The challenge is, as we think about it without adding the emotion to it, is because the emotion is what breaks our heart, because when we add emotion to things, we wind up thinking we're going to create expectations that aren't possible. That's why we need journaling, breathing, and gratitude. It's because of the expectations we have for ourselves. We don't even believe we could do it. Have you written out your definite major purpose? Have you written out your I am statements? Have you written out your affirmations? Who do I become when? Have you done your QLQs, your quantum linguistic questions? Well, as I become this, who do I become? What is it necessary? What do I need to advance in my life to reach that next goal? See, Einstein was right. The problems that were made with the mind of man can't be solved with the same mindset that created them. Carol Dweck talks about mindset, and we all get locked into this idea of mindset. What if we had mind freedom? What if we had mind open? I need a better mindset. Now all you're doing is stepping into a different jail cell. Tony Robbins says it's not that we don't have enough resources, it's you lack the ability to access the resources. You lack the ability to become resourceful. You've got all of the resources. Many of you know what to do for the next, I don't know, $10, $20, $30,000 in income increase. You just allow distractions to happen in your life. You use them, you allow these distractions to happen in your life, and you get to say words like, see, I was doing stuff and this got in the way. See, I was doing this and that got in the way. See, see, it's their problem. They're keeping me from my dreams. How's that working for you? It's just SSDD, same stuff, different day, until you decide that the level of freedom you want is non-negotiable. Until you decide, make the decision, cut off, incision, cut in, decision, cut off, until you finally decide that you're going to take care of you. But Sean, I have all these other people I have to take care of. Yeah, take care of them too, but don't take care of them at the expense of yourself. Don't take care of them as the sacrificial lamb. Why do I have to do everything? I have to do everything. What happens if they're not here? Would you rather not have to do it at all and they were taken away yesterday? Or would you find absolute joy? I got to tell you, I'm tough on Mason, but I'm not as tough as I could be, because every time I go to have a conversation with him, I remember the feeling of him being gone. See, God gave me this gift when he was 3 or 4 years old. We were in Home Depot. Michelle had him. Michelle thought I had him. She comes around the corner. If you've ever been to Home Depot, she comes around from the back of the garden. She comes in those back doors in the back of the garden, comes down like the bug section. And she comes down the bug section, and the look in her eyes when she saw I didn't have him, she said, "Where is he?" I said, "You have him." She bolted past me to the front, and in half of a second, you hear code Adam, code Adam. I'm about ready to pass out. We're walking the aisles. Mason, 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 Mason. Guy comes in through the garden doors. He says, "You looking for your kid?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "He's in one of the sheds there, just a giggling." He said, "I opened the shed," and he just was laughing. So can you imagine the relief? Can you imagine the relief? No, you can't imagine the relief unless you were there. You can anticipate it. You can think, you know. So I got and I grab them. And have you ever seen the magicians do sleight of hand right in front of you? And you're like, how the hell did they do that? I had Mason in my arms. And before I knew it, Michelle was halfway out the garden chop. And I didn't even know he was out of my hands. It was the greatest magic trick on the planet. Then the fear kicked in, what Michelle was going to do to me. So for about, I would say, a minute and 45 seconds, which seems like what to a parent, a lifetime, I thought he was gone. You don't want to think it, but you're like, holy shit, now what happens? Where is he? What could have happened? He was right here. See, when you have that emotional tie to your goals, they were right here. Who took them? You'll get mad. You will ask people to do things that you didn't know you could ask people to do. You will move people into action. You will amass an army. Why? Here's the reason that so many people go out searching for parents, and I can't imagine the feeling of parents who have lost their children. The reason everybody signs up, the reason everybody joins in is because the story is one they don't want. See, it's easy to get people to move in fear. Your responsibility as a leader is to move them in faith. It's easy to move people in fear. It's why most people sign up in network marketing, is because somebody told them they could make a whole bunch of money and they'd be an idiot if they don't. So we're fearful of doing the work, but we're fearful of if we quit, there's another chalk against us. There's another mark against us. Don't move your people in fear. Move them in faith. And how do you move them in faith? Is you have to have undeniable, unquestionable faith in your own capability. How do you have faith in your own capabilities? You hang around people who have faith in you. The challenge is you go the DIY method. You're doing the DIY method. I'm going to do it myself. You will suck on life and you will be given what's left over for the rest of your life. You got to ask yourself, am I okay with the leftovers? Am I okay with eating seconds every day, scraps every day, scraps of my own dreams, because you know you can do more, you know you can have more, you know you're worth more, until the fact that you have to step in the light and say, I am doing this. Then every story, addiction to approval, every story, neuroencoding, every story, neurobiology, every story, lack of mental toughness, shows up in your life. And you think buying a script is going to fix that. You are told, go for no, that's going to fix that. I don't know how taking more crappy, shitty diseases in your life is going to make you stronger. Your immune system is already strong enough. It's time to use your power. And when you adapt and when you adopt and when you understand the power of what it is that you have available to you, you will begin to use your power. You will start to see how powerful you are. And the challenge is you have to promise to use it for good. Too many people, when they find out that they can have power over people, don't always do good. When you have power over yourself, you have power over people. It's because they're called leaders. The challenge with leaders is that they want you to follow them because they don't realize how powerful they could be if they were a leader, no matter where you went. With technology today, you can check in with your leaders and still be on your own path. So I ranted a little longer than I wanted to. Was this valuable? Did you get something from it? If it's valuable, then here I'm going to ask you to be a leader. Share it. Tag somebody in this post on social media when you see it. Too many of you are keeping this quiet. This is good stuff. Too many of you are saying, I don't want to say that I'm listening to you. I don't know why. 5-time #1 best-selling author, stood on stage in 30 countries, more than most of the people that you'll have a conversation with, stood on stage, and you're letting money be the reason that you're listening to them. You're letting money be the reason that you think they're the ones that you need to follow. This is an emotional business. When you decide you're going to be emotionally connected to your dreams, to your desires, to your wants, to your wishes, you will make some big changes in your life. So you can have the freedom you want right now. You're in a prison that you have put around yourself. You have built your own walls. And when you decide today's the day I've had enough, boy, some things will change for you in a way you've never thought possible. Hopefully I can be on that journey with you. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Instagram, I love you tons. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for having an amazing Wednesday, Wealth Wednesday. Go enjoy your day. I'm your head brain scrambling misfit. I will see you all where? At the next event. Till then, bye for now. And YouTube, you are amazing. I love you tons. I appreciate you so very much. Have an incredible, absolutely fantabulous day. Well, Linda, we're not going anywhere in the VIP group, so you can hang out.